Music. Horror. Art. Politics. Badassery. Welcome to Society 13.
Welcome to Prog-Watch, with your one and only host who is the most, Prog-Squatch.
Welcome back to another installment of Prog-Watch. I am your host, the Prog-Squatch, Big Tony Rousick, and I have my friend Dave Ledig sitting in the co-host chair once again.
I am the permanent co-host. Thanks for having me back again, Tone.
Yeah, it's become that pretty much, huh?
I should just set up a cot here.
The de facto co-host.
I should just set up a cot here and make myself at home.
It's because I appreciate your insights, Dave, and how much effort you put in. You guys should see all the notes that Dave shows up with. He takes this very seriously. He's a journalist and a writer, and he really gets into this, and I appreciate it.
Well, thank you kindly, Tone. I try to do my best, and it's not actually for you. It's for the bands I do it for.
I know.
I do it for the music.
But I benefit.
Yeah, so everybody benefits, hopefully.
Yes, hopefully everybody benefits. Well, anyway, here we are. This is the second... Well, no, this is actually going to be our third week on Prog Positivity, because last week... or what's tomorrow? Wow, this is confusing. But anyway, the second show for Prog Positivity was going to be another best of. This is going to be the first show with the new format that is going to be the same show on the podcast side, on the Society 13, on iTunes, on Stitcher, and it's going to match up with the same thing that's being broadcast that week on Prog Positivity, 8 p.m. on Wednesday, and repeating at 12 noon on Thursday.
Sounds exciting. I tell you, I'm glad that I don't have to say all that. All I can do is talk about these bands.
Speaking of the bands, we were going to... we have two bands set up. We're going with the new format here. And Dave, you want to fill me in a little on that?
Well, the two bands that we're going to be doing, it's actually a new format. There is so much great progressive music out there that we've kind of decided that it would be best to cover two bands per show. On top of that, maybe you guys don't like just one band an entire show. And in addition to the two bands we're going to be featuring, we'll devote about 20 to 25 minutes to each band. This week, we're starting Tony's feature, the Prog-Watch Watch List.
Yes, and this week we have our first submission from a band called Mythery. I believe they're from Sweden. We'll get to that a little later. It's called Mythery. That's like myth and mystery put together. And we got a pretty cool track from them that we're going to play at the end of the show.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this feature, Tone. It's going to give a lot of opportunity out there, hopefully, to some of the young and upcoming bands.
Right. And I hope you all respond. Remember, we asked you previously, if you have a band or you know someone who does, let them know. We want to hear your tunes. Send us links to the cloud or whatever, or send an MP3 directly. You can contact us through the Prog-Watch page on Facebook, or email me at bigsquatch@verizon.net.
So stay tuned for that one, folks. Don't turn the radios off, so to speak. But let's get into our first feature artist today, Tone.
Right, and I think we're going to start today with Erik Norlander.
Very impressive, man. I shouldn't be that surprised that I haven't heard of him, because I've been so out of touch with prog music for years. This guy has a collection of music that just totally impresses me, Tone.
He's been around the block. He comes from a band called the Rocket Scientists, and he's also played with Ayreon, Star One, Asia featuring John Payne, an Asia Splinter group, and he also plays full time in his wife's band. His wife is Lana Lane, so he's been around the block, and at least for 20 years, I think he's been kicking around, playing like all over the place.
Yeah, and he has big enough. He's been featured on some of the major keyboard magazines over the years. I don't remember how many issues it was covered, but to be featured on a major magazine like that, you got to have some chops.
Absolutely. And his first album's liner notes also had a nice. Didn't you mention it to me, Dave? That Keith Emerson gave him a
glowing review. And if you listen to this, you'll hear elements of, I should say, influences of Emerson.
Sure, plus others, which we'll get to when we get to that, huh? But I guess we should, let's introduce the first album and get a track rolling here.
Yeah, it's his first solo album, but prior to this, Tony was recording with
Rocket Science.
Did some with his wife. So this is the first one. He's branching out on his own. It's totally instrumental. There's no vocals on this.
Right.
And compared to a lot of the music that we've done since we started back in May, I found it very refreshing.
Yeah, I wanted to get into some of this kind of stuff.
A lot of you who are regular listeners know that I do like my prog. I like it metal, and I like it aggressive, and I like it heavy. But I was also a real big fan of early Tangerine Dream back in the 70s. And a lot of this stuff kind of took me back to those youthful days.
Cool. And we're going to be playing, I hope, some more of this kind of stuff. I've been in touch with a fellow by the name of Ian Body from the UK, and I've got his go-ahead to feature him on a future show. So if you like Erik Norlander's first solo album, you're going to love Ian Body.
And we're going to get into a lot more Norlander over the coming months as well, too. He's got the body of material himself.
Yes, he does. He's got quite a body of material. But we're going to start off with his first album, which came out in 1997. The name of it was Threshold. And the track that we're playing is actually called Trantor Station. Before we play it, I have to mention, any Asimov fans? Did you get this reference, Dave?
No, because I'm not an Asimov fan.
Okay. Anyway, Asimov, in his Foundation trilogy, Trantor was the seat of the Galactic Empire, the empire that was crumbling. That the whole Foundation trilogy dealt with the old empire falling apart and what people did following that to keep civilization alive, basically. But the old seat of the old Galactic Empire was named Trantor, and it was basically an entirely mechanized planet where there wasn't even any land showing anymore. Kind of like in the Star Wars flicks where they went with what was the name of the, I forget the name of the capital.
But yeah, I'm very familiar with Foundation trilogy, and I was a big sci-fi fan. Asimov just never clicked because a lot of his stuff seemed like what you were just talking about, more sociological sci-fi.
Sure, absolutely.
And I was more into monsters and stuff like that.
Oh, after a quick search of the internet, I remember. We had to stop and look it up. I knew it was going to bother me for the whole show. I hate when that happens. But we're getting to be of that age where some things just are right on the tip of your tongue a lot. And you
called senility, folks.
Yeah, it's called senility.
Welcome to the 50s.
I thought the planet was called Coruscant, not senility. We're living on the planet of senility, maybe. In Star Wars, it was Coruscant, Coruscant. That was the home of the Empire. But in Asimov's trilogy, it was Trantor, and we are about to hear Trantor Station by Erik Norlander.
Roll tape.
Once again, that was Trantor Station by Erik Norlander from his Threshold album in 1997.
And I think, Tone, you can see where I mentioned a few moments ago about my love for Tangerine Dream in the 70s. You can hear an influence and elements of that throughout this piece.
Sure. I mean, there were also obvious parallels to like Rick Wakeman and even Vangelis in some places on this album, I thought.
And throughout the album, again, if you didn't know any better, you would swear Keith Emerson was jamming away, because Emerson always had that heavy guitar edge on his keyboard. And Norlander picks right up, and that's probably why Emerson had such great compliments for him.
Right. Yeah, there's no
items.
doubt. I mean, this guy's been influenced by some of the masters, Emerson, Wakeman, and Vangelis probably.
And he looks cold, too.
Yeah. Has quite a rig, too. He likes to get pictures of himself with all those old analog synths. He actually has an old, in the one picture I saw, he has the old Moog modular, like with the telephone switchboard thing behind him.
Is that a keyboard artist mentality? Because most of the guitar players I know don't have all their guitars sitting behind them. But you see pictures of Emerson, Wakeman, Norlander. They've got like every piece of
I don't know.
known to man.
I've seen some neat pictures of Steve Howe with his guitar collections over the years. It's pretty cool.
I'm just picking on the keyboard player.
I guess if you got it, you show it off, right?
And well, he did that on the next album.
That's right, and that's a good segue, Dave. I like it. The next album we're going to move into, it's called Into the Sunset from the year 2000. And on this one, we saw him exploring some other territory here, a little heavier and with vocals also. We're going to roll the track and we'll talk about it afterward. But the name of this song is On the Wings of Ghosts.
to sky, a child of mother earth, the air of father time.
And again, that was On the Wings of Ghosts from Erik Norlander's 2000 album called Into the Sunset.
A lengthy piece, and this was a Tony selection, folks, not a Dave selection. I even have on my notes, can you believe Tony picked this? Ha! But as for the song, I love the changes on it musically. Again, you know this is my cup of tea. It was my favorite on the album as well, too, Tom.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. You had that nice moody intro, and then there's like mellotron flute. And then on this album, he actually had a real cello player. And I love cello. I love the sound of cello in rock music. When it's done right, it's just fantastic.
Real instruments always, in my opinion, are going to beat any electronic reproduction.
Right.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Even though Norlander's covering a lot of ground with all these different great keyboards, he did have a fellow by the name of Cameron Stone playing cello on this album, and I think it was a neat addition.
He is, Norlander, that is, again, he is one of the geniuses, I think, that I've discovered working with you these past couple months, Tone. And in fact, on his liner notes, he actually has a quote where he calls his music experimental and indulgent. And Erik, if you're listening, when you're this good, there's no such thing as experimental and indulgent.
No, I don't think so either. I like this too. You also had a couple of different vocalists on this song, Robert Soderbuck and Edward Reekers. And I think there was a nice juxtaposition between their two different styles. One was much more gravelly, and the other was like a cleaner vocal. And also on this album, you had real guitars played by a real virtuoso.
Yeah, it is a lot different than his first solo one.
Right, which the first solo one was just him, a bass player, and a drummer.
Right. So we don't want to lead you too much astray. This is how good this guy is. He can go from the electronic type instrumental that we played for you with Tranter Station to an all-out full production that is prog rock, prog metal at its finest.
Right. And I mentioned that he had real guitars on this album, and they were played by a virtuoso. And the name of said virtuoso was
Ayreon
Anthony Lucassen,
who has become, I've got a man crush on this guy. I'm telling you what, he has become my new favorite musician, band, everything that I hear from this guy. I am jealous, envious, awash with admiration. I just want to hug him and kiss him, and I want to beat him up because
I will hug
he
him and pet him and
has
call
all
him
this
George.
talent, Tone. It's like when you come into class, did you bring enough of this talent for the rest of the class? Well, then share it, or else go sit in the corner. He does share it, of course, through his brilliant, brilliant music.
All right, well, I guess that's going to serve as a nice transition into the second half of the show, where we are going to actually deal with the one and only Ayreon Anthony Lucassen.
Yeah, for those of you on the podcast, of course, we had a whole show devoted to him a couple weeks ago. We're moving on from those couple albums into albums he did in 2004 and I believe it was 2008, Tone.
I didn't mark it down, but
2008,
that sounds
I
about
believe.
right.
And the first album we're going to feature a selection from is called The Human Equation. And again, it was a 2004 release.
Okay, and from that album, we're going to play a song called Day 2, Isolation.
I can't move, I can't feel my body, I don't remember anything. What place is this? How did I get here? I don't understand what's happening. Am I alone? You've been deserted, everyone has left you. You know it's always been that way. Those frantic years, the people you've neglected, now the time has come to pay. You're alone. No one here is dancing towards you. Sometimes the dream becomes reality.
But I don't know what to
Then
feel.
I will guide you through this haze.
But who are you? Why are you here?
I am you and you are all of
I can't
us.
speak, my mind ain't clear.
Then I will free you from this haze.
Can't you feel it burn deep down inside? Won't you ever learn? Don't try to hide. Can't you feel that fire scorching your soul? A wounded man's desire out of control. Can't believe you're giving up. That's not your way. I can't believe you passed the chance to make them pay. You always had complete control, never thinking twice. You always call the shots so hard it's thrown aside. You are delusions of my mind.
And so we're all a part of you.
Am I part of some design?
What design is in your head?
How can it be you look so real?
We are as real as you imagine
I can't
us.
touch you, I can
Then take
feel.
my hand and follow me.
Can't you feel it burn deep down inside? Won't you ever learn? Don't try to hide. Can't you feel that fire scorching your soul? A wounded man's desire out of control. Can't believe you're giving up. That's not your way. I can't believe you passed the chance to make them pay. You always had complete control, never thinking twice. You always call the shots so hard it's thrown aside. Close your eyes, listen to your heartbeat. Surrender to its soothing pulse. Silence the cries, gentle and carefree. Good or bad, true or false, you're not alone. You'll find me here whenever they oppose you. I am the strongest of them all. No need to fear these feelings that enclose you. I'm here to catch you when you fall. You're not alone. I am here dancing to your tune.
Day 2, Isolation from Ayreon. It's hard to keep to say, Ayreon Lucasen in the project is Ayreon. It's a very fine distinction, but
And that was a great song from a double album. This guy puts out double albums every other year or so. It's just and it's quality music from note A to note Z.
right. This one had a really interesting story that dealt with psychological rebirth and this guy who falls into a coma after a car accident, and then all the different facets of his personality, and
Right.
he's reliving all these things from the past. And I mean, this is interesting stuff. It's an interesting story, and he has, again, a cast of characters, and they are literally different characters. Each vocalist is singing a different facet of this guy's personality.
For those of you who did not hear our podcast when we first did Ayreon, he specializes in progressive metal and rock. You'll obviously hear elements of folk, power metal, classical, and electronics.
Electronic, yeah.
His lyrics up until this point had been heavily influenced by sci-fi fantasy, and as I do recall mentioning on a show a while back, his sci-fi lyrics tone, they're not just casual run-of-the-mill sci-fi. They're like Isaac Asimov Foundation trilogy
Yeah,
sci-fi.
you're right
really
about
well
that.
thought of
Yep.
plots, intricacies, twists and turns. If you guys have never heard of him, as I said, I still remember saying this earlier, Tone, on the other show, it's amazing that the world does not know about this guy.
Yeah, and the talent he assembles on his albums is phenomenal too. So he's good, even based on the people that'll show up and play on his albums,
Right.
like James LeBrie on vocals. Let's see who else we got. Devin Townsend. Even on the instrument side, I mean, Ken Hensley from Uriah Heep and Oliver Wakeman and Martin Orford all showed up to play some keyboards. He had John McManus on flute and tin whistle. I think John played with Steve Hackett for a while there. I mean, it's anytime this guy goes in the studio, he makes a few calls, and there's like quality people there.
He's writing rock operas, and as Tony mentioned, he gets different vocalists to play all the different parts. And as a fan, a huge lover of movies, I always tell my friends that if there's a movie they want to see but they're not real sure about it, I'll say, look who's in it. You can do that with this stuff. Look and see who's on the album, and you know what? You got to go, there's something going on here that's really special that I need to check out.
Right. And we sent our questions, our standard 5 questions that have become our kind of standard that we send out. We sent them to Ayreon, and he was kind enough to answer them, although he's really busy with his new recording project, The Gentle Storm, with Annika van Giersbergen, I guess is how you say her
she
name.
sings on the next album we're going to
That's right. She does sing on the next album that we're going to talk about. But I thought this might be a good time to go ahead and do the questions. We asked him where his anyway, I kind of skipped over part of it there, didn't I? But he wasn't able to actually record his answers and send them, but he did answer my email, which was very cool of him. Like you said, Dave, he's a cool dude.
He has actually sent us emails thanking us. We're the ones not worthy, sir.
Yes.
We're the ones not worthy.
I understand your man crush. But anyway, he seems like a very grounded, down-to-earth, cool guy, really. But we asked him our questions, so I'm gonna run with it here. We asked him, where do your ideas come from and how are they developed? He said he has no idea where they come from. If he knew, he'd be there all the time. Yeah. And then we said, jamming sessions? He says, oh no, he never jams. Doodling? Yes, he doodles, and it often helps. Or from your head and your heart, and then trying to get that emotion on the instrument. He said, well, I definitely need to be in the right mood to be creative. We asked what kind of equipment he uses. Everything he can get his hands on, he said. What's that?
It shows, Tom, because when you read the credits, I mean, he's playing almost like every instrument on the album in addition to the guest.
So he can play.
musicians
He can play keyboards pretty well himself.
He probably would have spent 20 minutes answering that question if he really wanted to get technical. with
Right,
us.
if he had the time and wasn't recording an album. But we also asked, how and why did you choose your instruments? He says purely instinctive, like everything he does. And we asked if he's made any modifications. He said he thinks it's more in the fingers and the head than in the instrument.
Excellent answer.
Yeah. And we asked him what the recording process was like. He said it's the best ever. It's what he lives for. And we asked if it was tedious and structured. He said only tedious if it doesn't work out. And then we asked, do you allow yourself flexibility to continually create as you record? He said that over the years, he's learned to be very flexible and to never limit himself. And we asked about playing out live, and he said he stopped playing out live a long time ago. He sees himself more as a producer and composer. That is his passion, and that's what he's best at. That's what he says. He said he's a total recluse. He hardly ever leaves his house and studio, only to go for a jog or a walk with the dog.
It's a shame he doesn't get out to play, because I'll tell you what, I would pay to see this guy big time.
Sure, I'm sure a lot of people would.
Is brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
And last we asked, did he remember the first song he ever wrote, even if he was a kid or a teen? He said, of course, he started composing before he even started to play. And we said, Greg Lake said he wrote Lucky Man when he was 14. What about you? Do you remember your first song, and would you care to sample any of it? He said, oh no, it totally sucked. He remembers it all, though. Play a few bars, maybe? He says, no way. It was very naive. And we asked, what song in your current catalog do you love the most and feel best defines the sound you want to be identified with? He said, it's always the stuff that he's currently working on. Right now, that's the Gentle Storm album, which we mentioned, with Annika van Giersbergen on vocals. And he put as a last note, hope you'll enjoy it, Anthony.
You can just tell by his answers. He's just a great guy, real smooth, and a genius. And when you listen,
he has
to
a
his,
sense of humor. And he
right.
doesn't take himself too seriously.
And when you listen to the music, the thing that, again, impressed me, as I said a couple weeks ago on the podcast where we featured him, he's a virtuoso, and yet he knows not to show off. The music fits the song. He plays what needs to be played. Nothing more, nothing less.
All right. Well, I think we're going to move along. We do still have some ground to cover here tonight. And we're going to move on to the next album that we were going to sample from Ayreon. And that was entitled 010110001.
Which is the binary representation of the ASCII 2 value of the letter Y.
Y, yes. Because this story deals with an alien race from a planet called Y that basically sends DNA on a comet that's going to come by Earth, and this not only causes the extinction of the dinosaurs, but also influences the development of life on Earth, giving rise to humans. So again, we get into one of these crazy sci-fi concepts, but we're going to go ahead and play the song. The song we selected is called Liquid Eternity.
Once a world, endless and free, horizons unbroken. Now a world of bounded frontiers, the elders have spoken. Once a world, eternal and blue, floating, escaping. Now a world that's blind in my view, shadows shaping. Liquid eternity.
Once again, that was Liquid Eternity from the 01011001 album.
Yeah, I love this song a lot, Tone. The opening and the reoccurring theme throughout. I don't know what you would call that. You know more about keyboards than I do. Almost like percussive, electronic synth, drone type.
Or like the sequences. That
Yeah,
it
I
uses.
just love that.
Yeah.
And it goes back and forth throughout the whole song, between the chorus and the verses. To me, it's riveting. It pulled me right in.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. Again, you had like a lot of cool, like you were saying, synthesizer sequences, moody synth sounds juxtaposed with like kick in your face in guitars, you know.
Which made sense because the album as a whole, I remember reading reviews of it where they said it was darker than the previous stuff. And he attributed that to a depression he was going through at the time, along with a divorce. And because of that, that obviously reflected in his music, which as Tony read his answers to our questions a few minutes ago, you can see that.
Yeah. But yeah, again, it had another interesting sci-fi type story. He gets into it, you know. He thinks about this stuff. He's a very creative dude on many levels.
Many levels, which is why I was poking fun at it earlier about sharing some of that talent with the rest of us. But I get it that he gets it. And everybody has a passion regardless of what it is. With me, it's writing. I love words. I hear music in words on a piece of paper. And I've had people tell me they were envious of that. Lucasen is a genius, folks. You need to check him out. You need to check his music out. There isn't one bad note. The segues are great. The bridges are great. The interludes are great. The verses are great. He uses acoustic guitars, which is hard to. I love acoustic guitars. The guy, and he uses them at the right place and the right time. There's not a bad note on either of these two albums, I think, Tony, that we previewed today.
You're welcome, Dave. I liked how much Dave got into Ayreon, and I got to try to see if I can turn him on to some Star One and some of the other stuff that Ayreon Lucasen has done. I'm sure he's probably going to like it.
You don't have to, because I'm an extremist. When I get into a guy or a band, I buy everything. If John Anderson released an album himself coughing, I'd probably buy it.
Completionist is what you call it. Or OCD. One or the other.
Exactly. The clinical terms, yes.
All right, well, anyway, I guess that's going to just about do it for the two main bands that we were going to feature today. And next we're gonna play an unknown band by the name of Mythery. This is the first band on our Prog-Watch Watch List. They were formed in 2010 by drummer, composer, and lyricist Nikolai Holger. They're from Copenhagen, Denmark. They released their debut album, The Awakening of the Beast, through Mighty Music, one of the biggest rock metal labels in Scandinavia. Right now, Holger's the main guy left in the band. Various members who had been involved kind of split, but he says that the next Mythery release will feature some of the most exciting names on the Scandinavian progressive scene today. He's very excited about moving forward in this way with Mythery. He has big plans for next year. So without further ado, I guess we'll go ahead and play the song which we're going to feature. Again, it was from the Awakening of the Beast album, and the name of the song is Another Universe. Once again, that was Another Universe by Mythery.
I like that song, Tone. It was a very good first submission, I thought, for the show. The main theme I really enjoyed. I like the gentle fade in, although once the music starts, gentle would not be a word that I would use to describe
No,
it.
it's kicked in with some double bass drums
Right.
and some heavy guitars. But I did appreciate there was like a violin kind of figure.
I have that. The violin does some very interesting stuff throughout, as we spoke of just a little bit ago. Real instruments.
Right. It sounded real to me. I can't say it for 100%
That's
that it
true
is,
too.
but it sounded real to me, and it was good. Whatever it was good.
It did be, yeah. It was something I was trying to figure out how we could determine how well we like this with the new music coming in, and the best that I could say is I would be interested in hearing more.
Well, you can, because Mythery does have a really good website. Mythery is how you spell it, and it's mythery.com. And I was checking it out today, and you can actually link to Spotify and iTunes through there, where you can not only buy the album, but you can also actually just listen to it.
That's something I will have to do, because computer illiterate me did not know that.
Well, there you go. But yeah, if you're interested in this band, check them out. And if, like we said earlier, if you have a band or you know somebody in a band, tell them about the Prog-Watch Watch List. They could have their track being heard here. We got thousands of people downloading the podcast every week, and now we're on Prog Positivity Network as well. So you could be getting yourself out there a bit.
Yeah, you'll have a nice audience to globally to introduce your music to.
Right. I guess we're going to wrap it up then.
Yeah, the only other thing I would like to add is, in addition to checking out Mythery's website, don't forget to check out Ayreon and Norlander's websites. They're great websites as well too,
Right.
where you can purchase all their music and read their bios, read about anything you almost pretty want to know. They even have shops where you can buy merchandise from them
Right.
as well too.
Right.
And we'll also be going back to Norlander and Ayreon in future shows.
Right.
The wealth of material was just too vast for us to pass up.
Yeah, and Dave was talking before. It's like we're on a bit of a schedule here, almost with like our listening. We have to come up with something to say about these songs and these albums, and we get kind of locked into listening. It's almost becoming a little bit of a job, but and we don't necessarily get to live with the music as much as we might like in some cases.
You don't get to absorb it. It's a line from one of my favorite movies, High Fidelity. You listen to the music and then you're on to the new one. And I don't have time to listen to, the album repeat. And so I get the lyrics down in my head where I can do the air drums and the air guitar, because I don't know where they're at because we're already doing a new project.
Right. But you were saying, especially like Nine Stones Close was a band that you had been listening to some more, and you were really digging their stuff.
It's the idea of really getting to listen to the music and enjoying it. And I had a little lull there where I was able to go back and listen to some of the bands I first started with. And I started, of course, they were the second band I did. And I just thought, wow, this David Gilmour type guitar is really pulling me in. And the rest of the music starts pulling you in. And I thought, what a shame to not go back and touch base with them, as well as other bands, which is where we come up with the idea of doing maybe 2 bands per show, so we could go back and continue to feature some of these great artists.
Right, and you're going to hear more from Ayreon, I promise. And you're probably going to hear more from Norlander, and you're going to hear some more Nine Stones Close. But we're also going to be mixing in new stuff. We got Gandalf's Fist coming up. I dug up a band from Scandinavia again called Black Bonzo, and it's a funny name, but these guys have some cool stuff. And we're going to be bringing in new ones on a regular basis, but we might be going back and touching on some old ones too.
And drop us a line if you have any suggestions. We'd be happy to hear them.
Absolutely. Big Squatch at Verizon.net. Or hit me up on the Facebook page, Prog-Watch.
Like us, folks. Like us.
Please.
Twitter.
Please. Yeah, I'm on Prog Squatch on Twitter too.
Said with real enthusiasm.
These big Squatch thumbs don't tweet too well,
They do when they contact me for some reason. It's that big keyboard he uses.
Yeah. But anyway, I guess that's going to wrap it up for this week. Anything parting words.
I just enjoyed today's show. I enjoyed both artists immensely.
I enjoy them every week.
I'm looking forward to going back to them again. I forget what talk show used to do that. You say we were the greatest show ever tonight.
Yeah.
And every night he said that. I don't know.
It's just like Ayreon said, what's your favorite? It's what I'm working on right now,
Yeah, and that's a good motto, but I don't want to steal from geniuses. Although, the old writer saying, good writers borrow, but great writers steal.
All right, well, with that note, I'm going to say, prog on, brothers and sisters.
Have a good week, folks. We'll see you next week.
Yes, we're going weekly.